Hello everybody and welcome to the all-new Pretty Good Gaming Podcast episode 2. I'm here with Mr. Henry Cooper.
Hello.
How are you, dude?
Pretty good, one might say.
Do you like the new setup?
I dig it. We spent ages lifting tables through a very narrow doorway, but
We did.
we managed it. We got a cute new podcast space and streaming space, so we can do some gameplay, bit of capture. Should be good.
That's right. The old room that we have let go, or we're in the process of letting go, is no longer available to us. We're lucky that this room is so big that we put everything we want. So we've got literally, I'm looking at our desks where we work over there, which is behind the camera we were looking at.
5 meters
and
away
we've got actually another gaming setup here. So we've got 3 gaming setups, so we can stream with 3 people.
Yeah.
And we could do that as well as do these podcasts here. So unfortunately, we don't have our intended guest, Lucy, with us today. Unfortunately, she couldn't make it. So apologies on Lucy's behalf. Hopefully, we can get her in at some point. So it's just Henry and I this week on the podcasts, right?
On the podcast.
And these are the podcasts. We've got, what should we call them? We've got
I think he's Ginger, so he should be Garfield.
Garfield and the blonde one.
Top Cat's sort of a yellow colour, isn't he? I think.
Top Cat. And Garfield.
Top Cat and Garfield.
We've got Top Cat and Garfield as our guests today. Although they don't say much. Although they're pretty cute.
Yeah, they're the strong silent type.
Yeah, and we like that.
Lots of wisdom.
So before we get started with the topics of today's podcasts, I want to mention a couple of the changes. I have just reintroduced the $5 tier on the patrons for you backers. There was previously rewards there which I couldn't fulfill due to not having enough staff here to do it. So the previous promise was on the $5 tier was additional content and extra content behind the scenes, all that sort of stuff, which I just couldn't do. Couldn't keep up with it. So I just put a placeholder. This has been discontinued. But today, it's October the 23rd at the time of recording. You probably get this tomorrow on 24th. We'll see. I brought it back. So we've got some outtakes coming to the behind the scenes footage, which is fun, right?
There's a lot of them.
There's a lot of outtakes. I'm gonna have to go through them and filter them.
Yeah, we'll pick the good ones.
Yeah,
a highlight reel of lowlights.
There's so much that doesn't make the cut. So that's coming at a part of the $5 reward tier now, and also it's the play date. It's the play date tier.
The play date.
So what that means is that we're going to schedule in some game time on Discord with the patrons of the $5 tier and up. Everyone who's above the $5 tier qualifies too, where we just sit and play games and chat on Discord and have lots of fun. And I'm thinking Fallout 76 would be a good call for that.
Yeah, because you can get loads of people in. Massively multiplayer being the key part of that.
Yeah, and hopefully it can facilitate. I know it's like you can play it with 4-player groups, but I think there's like 30-odd player or a few dozen player servers. Hopefully we can get a few teams on the same server and coordinate some sort of Fallout shenanigans.
Yeah. Come kill me because I'm terrible at video games, especially Fallout.
Yeah.
So have fun shooting me.
That'd be cool. And we will take suggestions as to what other games to play also. This will mainly happen during working hours, I feel like, because outside of that, I can't control due to personal commitments as well as Henry's off the clock. Essentially,
we've all got stuff going on, right?
Yeah, maybe we can arrange one weekend in 6 weeks or something like that. Just on like a Saturday morning is always good for me, or just a one evening every so often too, for those of you who are on a different time schedule or working usually during the week. So we can work it around. And that is the new $5 tier. So if you're interested, go and check it out. Also, I've added a $50 tier. Now, this is more speculative because people are always asking for higher tiers. I'm not sure what to put as a reward, but I thought we've got all this space now, and there's only 2 of us here. And also, the $50 tier, if you're willing to contribute $50, then you're something special, right?
Yeah.
You're a really special supporter. So I thought, what better way to reward someone who's really going to put it out there for us, to support us, to keep our content coming, than to call them a team player, invite them into the office, have them maybe, play games with us.
Just come be part of the team for a day.
Take part in some of the content, maybe be a featured guest on the podcast. That would be cool.
Yeah.
I've considered having patron guests on the podcast in the past, Patreon guests. However, it's not always easy when they're not in the office. So, if you got a holiday coming up in North Wales or around the area or whatever, and you're free on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, consider this
Tuesday or Thursday.
Tuesday or a Thursday is the creative days, the non-news days.
Yeah, it's a bit more free, and we kind of just figure it out on the day. We're like, oh, well, we'll try this because this is what's a hot talking point, essentially.
Yeah, we do like voiceover vids, we do the podcast. We also get some time on playing games, do streams are planned for these days too, as well as the other playing with the play dates, essentially. And it gives me time to do the admin stuff around the office and not have to focus on just the routine of gathering news, making a news video, editing the news video, and that's such so much work that it gives me this space. Anyway, Tuesdays and Thursdays. That's the new $50 tier. So if anyone's interested in that, go and check it out on the Patreon. So that's it for the introductions. Generation Zero. What the hell is Generation Zero?
What is Generation Zero?
Now, this game is developed and published by Avalanche. You might recognize them from Just Cause, Mad Max. They're also working on Rage 2 with id, sorry.
Yeah, id.
Said that wrong. id Software. Published by Bethesda. So they're a big company now. Apparently they've got 6 games that they're working on that they announced sometime this year. But they're working on this game called Generation Zero that was announced recently. We've recently had closed beta access. So we've played it and we know what Generation Zero is, right? Happening. And we're just about to fill you in. So firstly, let's read the Steam description. It says, experience an explosive game of cat and mouse set in a vast open world. In this reimagining of the 1980s Sweden, hostile machines have invaded the serene countryside. Go it alone or team up with 3 of your friends in seamless co-op multiplayer, utilize guerrilla tactics and fight back.
Fight back.
And that's a short summary of what it is, right? That gives you...
that's kind of your setting, I guess.
Yeah, 1980s Sweden. It's like 1989. It's got that kind of, especially with the soundtrack, it's got that Stranger Things kind of feel to it, doesn't it?
The big thing I got from it. It's
very
Stranger Things.
And I don't know whether that's purposeful or whether they've seen the success of things like Stranger Things and other like 1980s inspired media, things in the media recently, where they've just gone, that's a good setting. Let's make a game out of that.
Well, I think also Variety had a chat with Avalanche, and they kind of just said, well, we did this in our childhood. We'd, go into the woods and play it as kids do, riding around on your bikes, having little adventures, essentially. And they wanted to kind of capture that, and in Sweden, on their home turf. And I think they've really managed to do that, because you kind of put together your own character and they're proper, like, stereotypical movie type archetypes. I think of them like slasher movie victims. Like, you've got the jock, you've got the nerd, you've got the punk bad boy guys. But then as you go on, you can pick up cosmetic items. So you'll start off looking like a nerd, like I did. I mean, the closest to the real world that I could find. By the end, he had like pink trousers, like a World War II era helmet, huge sunglasses. He was bald, and he just looked very fucking weird. Yeah, proper weird.
Yeah, it's very fun, and you start off, obviously you can. If any character creator allows you to have a mullet, it's a win.
That's a win
in my book. That is a win, and it's
different
really quite
coloured mullets as well. You can have like a bright pink mullet.
There is a lot of cosmetics to collect.
Lots of them.
There is lots, and it's fun if you're into that character creator type of thing. So.
And it's randomly, well, maybe not randomly generated, but so when you're in your team of 4, you'd find a box, like a backpack or something. You'll loot it, and you'll get, I've got health items, a couple bits of ammo, and a cosmetic piece. And it'll be like a hat or something. Someone else can come, and they'll just get ammo. Or someone else can come, and they'll just get, like, I don't know, a weapon or something. It's all completely different, but in the same space, which I think is cool.
You're in the same space, and if someone loots a loot box, which they actually call loot boxes, although there's no transaction, money, you don't have to pay for them.
Boxes of loot.
If someone loots a box before there's still stuff in there for you. It doesn't completely wipe it for you, which is a nice little touch. So predominantly first person. Well, it is exclusively first person shooter, essentially. First person multiplayer co-op shooter, which connects with me. From the get-go, because I absolutely love first person and this type of It's like a weird, nice setting, this backdrop to it. And you've got like robot dinosaurs, essentially.
Yeah.
They're not dinosaurs, okay? All right, I'm comparing it with Horizon Zero Dawn. Obviously, there is a big bipedal mech there.
Yeah.
Which is more like the ATST. It's called a tank, right?
They just call it a tank, I think.
Yeah.
It marches in, and there's a real sense of, oh God, we're taking this thing down. Like, it's going to be a real team effort, everyone coming together.
Yeah.
We died so many times taking that thing.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun, though. And you might recognize that tank, as they call it, as the enemy. That's what it's called, the tank. You might recognize it from the footage, not the footage, the images that they've put out there. It's like I think it's the box art or something where they've got four players in the foreground and they've got this big tank in the background. And like you said, it's an absolute, I don't know, it's an accomplishment. Showpiece. It was towards the very end of the demo, right? And we only happened across it. It wasn't part of any of the missions or anything. It was like, oh shit, that's the big mech thing. We
were kind of just crossing this field. We heard like big clunky footsteps. We're like, oh, that sounds big. Turn around, and it's there.
Yeah,
it's an enormous robot with like rockets and stuff, and we were just like, right, let's take it down.
Yeah, it's cool. It's got this like proximity attack thing. You can't go close to it because I think it's like
radiation,
either radiation or some sort of like noise. You know, like you've got like exclusion. You know, if it's too loud or something, it might damage you or whatever. Even when it's dead, it's still hurts you.
You run up to it to loot it, but it's doing constant damage.
It's got weak spots, obviously weak points, so you've got to focus your fire on that. But it's pretty mean. It's a mean machine.
Tough thing,
It's a mean machine. It's got a couple of attacks that we saw. It's got the kind of explosion in
like a shockwave thing,
like a short shockwave type of thing. It's also got rockets, which it launches at you.
And they're not one-hit kills, but they will definitely wipe you out if you've got full health. They'll drop you straight down to near death.
It's instantly. A mean machine. The other enemies, you've got the little ticks, the little spider things running around that remind me of, if anyone remembers Red Dwarf, the very first episode, I think, like Crichton's hand when he puts like a little eye on it. You've probably never seen it, but everyone who loves Red Dwarf will know. They're like the little like hand spider things. They're called ticks anyway. They got Seekers, which remind me of Mr. Handy from Fallout 4, just like a flying robot thing who don't actually attack you. They just
alert other enemies, we think.
Yeah, they're just recon units essentially. And then there's the mainstay of the enemies, which is the runners, or the dogs as we call them.
Yeah, they're
because they're essentially just dogs.
Good doggos.
The doggos, and they're all over the place. So the dogs, they're just like they're rampant all over the place.
Your standard enemy type, and again, they're vulnerable to different things in different places. So you've got if you blow up their like eye thing, their eye unit, they'll then be blind and won't have as good shot accuracy. Shoot off their weapons, and not be able to fight back. That kind of stuff. Yeah,
it's a nice little mechanic that where they've got vulnerability points, right?
Yeah.
So you can shoot off their weapons, and then like they can't even attack you. Then they can't harm you.
And they're not like bullet sponges. If you're aiming at an armored part of their chassis, you shoot that, it's going to take ages. But if you just adjust your aim slightly to hit like pipes or wires or something, it's going to do loads more damage, and they'll go down a lot faster.
Yeah, usually the face is like a one-shot kill.
A face is a good place to aim in most things.
I remember very early on our play session that I was running around with a shotgun thinking, I found myself a shotgun, and just like blasting them and it not doing anything. But then I realised afterwards it was because I wasn't aiming for the face.
Yeah, shot placement is everything.
Yeah, and I love that. I really love that.
It was really cool.
So they can be spongy, though. They can be spongy.
They can be.
You can plug 5 or 6 shells into it, and it won't kill it because you're aiming for the wrong part. You need to aim for the face. And
very tactical.
Yeah, I like that. So in terms of weapons, we've got the shotty. Obviously, you start off with a pistol, but then you loot all your weapons from then on. And they are randomly placed as well. One person might find one weapon, the other person might find a totally different weapon. Yeah. So it's a weapon loot spawn point. Right, a weapon spawn point, but you might get a shotty, I might get like another pistol or something else. And the weapons have got different levels of deterioration as well. So you get really run-down weapons are really...
They're dilapidated. And they're like rusty and falling apart, and their stats are a lot lower. But if you find the same weapon but in better condition, all of its stats are just higher. You got
attachments as well, scopes and muzzles and all sorts of stuff.
There's various ammo types. There was a lot more ammo types in the beta we played than there were weapons. So there's obviously going to be more weapons available. But I think for one of the pistols, you could swap out ammo, like one that does more damage to armor, so it's like armor piercing, and then one that's it's like high velocity or something, so it's better for different things.
Yeah, sure. And the shotguns, for example, you got one with more spread and one with a tighter, narrower, longer distance. So yeah, it's so there's four main types of weapon. You've got your pistol, shotgun, your bolt rifle, or like your single shot rifle, I guess is
like a hunting rifle,
and then you've got your automatic rifle, which will just spray. But you can change the fire mode.
We had an SMG as well.
Did we?
We found an SMG.
Oh yeah, of course, SMG. So that's 5. So I stand corrected.
Then you can pop a scope on it, and obviously you'll get better range. And I think the scope I had on my rifle, it had like a chip and a crack in the lens, but then on your one, it was clean, like high quality. So the level of degradation is the same on your attachments. Yeah. So you can get good attachments on a bad weapon, and it will benefit in some ways. But if you get a good weapon with a bad attachment, similar sort of thing.
It fits in with the setting, right? Because this is a post-apocalyptic kind of envisioning of 1980s Sweden, right? And we don't know what's happened, and the missions are mainly around go and find out where the people have gone. That was the main thread of the mission.
Vague's probably the wrong word, but it's very much like just find out where people are.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I don't know if I'm supposed to go here or here or here. It's very explorative, and it wants you to go in all the buildings and look for things, and you'll pick up a note and then you'll read it and be like, oh, that's where I need to go. But it's not like it changes the map. It's they're all about not having waypoints and not breadcrumbing, I think was the word they used in their Variety interview. It's just, okay, it says in the note that they've moved to a bunker. Okay, now we've got to go find a bunker. And it's not like it's going to be a pin, like the bunker is 3 clicks away.
Find that
you figure it out.
So this whole world is a very you've got to explore it because you don't know what the hell's happened, and that's part of the crux of the narrative, isn't it? It's and with the weapons as well, it all fits in. Like there are certain levels of dilapidation, and you might find a really strong weapon that is like in pristine condition, which we didn't find during the demo. Maybe that's coming later on, but it all fits in well. It's a cohesive story. It makes sense in the world, in the universe, which is always good. So in terms of the missions, we didn't really see much. There wasn't any NPCs. There was nothing. There was just robots and environmental storytelling. That was it, right?
And I think that's kind of the point they're going for, is that it's, figure it out yourself. It's a big mystery. But that can be a bad thing, because a lot of it we're like, well, what are we doing? I mean, we know that we're supposed to explore and stuff, but it's more, why are we doing it?
Yeah.
I wanted that little bit more, just plot, kind of exposition, kind of just a bit more information.
There was very little, because when you they give you a task, like go and find this bunker. You go to the bunker, you read like a notice board or something. It doesn't really explain a lot. It just says, right, go to this next point. Yeah. But maybe they're going to flesh that out. It is still in beta, but that's one of the criticisms I would say right now is like we need some sort of narrative thread. We need some sort of like story hook to keep us going.
Yeah, and lore, like names for things and backstories and stuff.
Yeah.
Like who are these people in this bunker we've just explored?
Yeah.
And that can be done with more environmental storytelling. Like it doesn't need to pull you out and have a cutscene. You can have like a note on the side that's a biography,
a diary or something.
Yeah, diary
like Fallout always does.
Yeah, of like the chief officer in the bunker or something.
What they were doing, why they were there, what happened to them, what troubles they were going through, all that sort of stuff.
Without giving you too much, but just enough.
Okay, so the website of the game describes it as having a full day-night cycle with unpredictable weather, which we saw, right? We were, it was good, although we were in the same place at points where it was raining for you and it was quite dry for me. Then it'd swap over. That was pretty weird. But
it was a bit weird. But the day-night thing lasts for a long time. We spent ages at night time, and you've got a flashlight that you can just turn on and off, so that helps.
That was cool.
But the day-night cycle was really long, and I liked that.
Yeah,
we spent a lot of time in darkness. Then when we had a break, then we came back and it was daytime. And it's the same mission that we were doing, but in daytime.
Yeah. And there's also, it says complex AI behavior. Did we see complex AI behavior? Maybe.
I think they kind of moved in groups a bit, but I think when we saw them, we were just like, "Oh my god, there's a robot! Kill it!"
That's it.
Just kill it straight away.
Don't pay much attention. Simulated ballistics, highly realistic acoustics, and a dynamic 1980s soundtrack. Right.
The soundtrack was good.
There's one item that you can find. That's like a boombox that can distract the enemies, and also there's like a firework that you set off and that completely confuses them, and they just go and try and kill that fireworks, and they're completely vulnerable at that stage. But there's this one boombox, right, which you didn't really use that much because it's quite cumbersome, right? But you play it and you throw it and it plays. I don't know what song it was. Was it some like?
I don't know if it's a licensed thing, but
it's
a proper
music, so.
It's just a proper cheesy 80s synth pop thing. Yeah. It's really loud. Like it fills the whole town or whatever you're in, and they all swarm to it. And it's a good little soundtrack to get your groove on while you're shooting.
Yeah. There was just one song. We tried it with numerous boomboxes, but maybe they'll add more into the.
We found so many radios.
Yeah,
so many radios.
There was, and it feels like back on the fireworks thing, they're so overpowered. The fireworks and flares, right? If you fire one off, there might be a group of 5 or 6 dogs, and they'll all go towards the flare and just stand there looking at it, barking at it, shooting at whatever they're doing because they're stupid, like. Dogs,
and then just grenade in there. They're all
and
down.
You can just stand around them, shooting them in the face while they don't even realise that you're a threat to them because they're looking at this big flashy light. I think that's a little bit overpowered.
A little bit, yeah, because they're fully immersed in it rather than just a little bit distracted. So I think if they tightened it up a bit, throw the thing, they'd be like, "Oh, what's that over there?" But still, like
sense of threat.
Yeah.
So that is a lot. Basically everything that we saw. I mean, the map itself, we only had like a starter it was like a starter area, and it's like an archipelago
where Darwin thought up evolution.
Yeah, it's that place. Essentially,
it's a collection of little islands that they're like connected by bridges.
And there's a big island region which we weren't able to get to, and it seemed like a really nice like starter taster kind of area for us to go and.
It's very rural as well. It's lots of hills and fields and small village farm towns and lots of barns.
Yeah. So it was really cool. There's also safe houses in the game as well. So every so often you come across a safe house, which is like a fast travel point or a save point. So if you die, you'll like respawn there, or you can fast travel there across the map.
Yeah, but there's not loads of them. There's a handful. So if you die, you can then respawn there. But if you die miles away, you've still got to have a good trek.
Yeah.
But they've got, what do they call them? It's like an EpiPen, adrenaline shot.
Yeah.
So if you die, that's how you
revive yourself. You can revive yourself as well as other people with them. So if you give
it to other people,
you've got a stock of EpiPens, you're all right. Like,
you'll be fine.
No
nut allergies and no death by robots.
Stealth is a thing. Apparently, although we didn't use that a lot, you get rewarded by XP. There's an XP system in it too, which I'll go into in just a second. But stealth is a thing. You get rewarded for sneaking away from combat as well as taking out the dogs.
Yeah, because there's like a notification that comes up saying entering combat or something, and you get XP for starting a combat encounter. But if you enter it and survive meeting the robot but not killing them and not getting killed, but completely not engaging, you get a bunch of XP for that.
Yeah. And there was one moment where it was some sort of bug in it, but there was we were up against the tank in the later part of our play session, and it just kept rewarding me with increasingly more XP, more and more, like and eventually
tens of thousands.
Yeah, because it thought, I think the computer thought I was going in and out of combat, and I think that's how it cheesed. But eventually I ended up like level 60
within about 10 minutes.
Yeah, it wasn't even that. It was like 20,000 XP, 30,000 XP within a few seconds. But anyway, the XP system, so you get to unlock different abilities, and you might be able to have less weapon sway, less recoil on your gun, for example. There's also been able to track enemies better or be able to see enemies.
Yeah, there's one where you can it was, you can tag them and see weak points or something.
Yeah.
So we scanned the tank and it identified, it's got this kind of rocket launcher, it's got this kind of machine gun or whatever.
And its vulnerabilities, as well as you can get an ability to run faster, as well as use less. It did say you can run for longer, although there wasn't any sort of stamina in it.
Yeah, you can sprint forever, pretty much. It's just the speed can vary as you upgrade it.
Yeah, maybe that stamina is a thing, because I'm sure there was a specific extra stamina ability, but because you had infinite running, didn't really make a lot of sense. Maybe they're adding that mechanic in at a later date. So there's loads of abilities to unlock, as well as collectibles, which give you XP, which is another system that I cheesed as well.
Farmed,
because I just kept logging out and back onto the server, because it wasn't my server. Every time I'd log back in, there was all these collectible tapes in the spawn area, which is supposed to be there to help you win the beta. But I just farmed them for a little while, because it's just using your initiative, isn't it? That's all it is.
It's there to be exploited.
So that's it. That is our rundown of what to expect in Generation Zero. We only played the beta, the closed beta, a very early version of the game. I'm not sure when it's expected. I
think it says 2019, but that's just a window.
Placeholder window. So sometime next year. Look for an open beta. I really enjoyed it. I had a great time. We played for maybe 4 or 5 hours, right? And we had a very good time. We were itching to get into the new area, which we were locked out of, and just to explore a little bit more. There's obviously things that they can improve and iron out is what you
get your prepositions right. It's definitely a cooperative experience. I felt a bit like Left 4 Dead, where of course you can play it on your own, but it's so much better with a little team.
Yeah,
especially in the real world, sitting together like we were on the same server. You can really talk to each other and be like, I found this thing here, and then I'll be like, okay, I'll go and have a look, and you'll find you've either got something better or worse or the same.
Yeah.
So I thought it was cool. Definitely a cooperative experience.
Yeah, I tried it at home on my own, and it wasn't the same. It was like, it felt empty. It felt really empty. The fact that there was other people you can make your own fun when you're in a group, because we were laughing at the fact that you liked climbing mountains, or you got lost off and stuff and dying at the mountains, and that's fun in itself, just interacting with people. That's why multiplayer is such a popular genre. In this setting, though, I think it could really do well, and I'm really on board for this first-person shooter like it is. I'm into it. Anyway, that is our rundown of Generation Zero. Check it out if you are interested in that. We are going to move on to a break now. We're going to have a short lunch break and then come back to you on the podcast and talk about Red Dead Redemption, obviously, because that's coming out in a couple of days, Fallout 76, as well as maybe some other things, movie stuff, and we're going to take some questions as well. So look out for that. After the break, we will be back very shortly.
Stick around.
Hello, and welcome back to the second part of today's podcast, the all-new PGG podcast. Here, back with Mr. Henry and Garfield and Topcat, right?
Garfield and Topcat, the pretty good podcats.
Meow. Meow. So we are back with some more chat. What are we chatting about now, Henry?
What are we chatting about? Probably some nonsense. It's about Fallout, I think.
Definitely.
Time to chat about Fallout.
Let's talk about Fallout. So what happened was Bethesda have tweeted a note to their fans, and they say in this tweet, okay, you ready for this? As a development studio, we've taken a lot of journeys. We've tried not to repeat ourselves, yet all our games have a similar DNA. In 2015, we decided to try something very new and very scary for us. Take one of our worlds and make it online only. Once the idea of Fallout Online survival game stuck, there was no turning back, but still some worry and questions. Will people want this from Fallout? Will they want it from us? How the hell are we going to make this? And what exactly is this? Since that time, we've grown to 4 studios across North America and built a game world 4 times the size of our last. We developed all new technologies and services while bending older technology to do things we didn't think it could. We pushed ourselves in new ways that surprised even us. Our worlds, whether it be Fallout, Elder Scrolls, or the coming Starfield, are important places to us. We do everything we can to treat them with care. We know they mean just as much to you. That time you spend in them is important, and you want each time you experience one to be special and all it can be. Did I read that right?
Yeah.
And that with Fallout 76, you too are left wondering, what exactly is this? And the answer to that question, more than any other game we've made, is that's up to you. Is that pretty pretentious? That sounds pretentious to you?
Yeah, a little bit.
With our beta starting tomorrow, it's finally time for Fallout 76 to begin its real journey, because it's all of you who will truly bring life to the world. Usually after years of development, we finally finish, release the game and take a break. With 76, we feel we have not finished, but reached a starting line where all new work begins. Now, I feel this next sentence in this paragraph is the whole reason why they've wrote this post, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, so listen carefully. We all know with the scale of our games and the systems, we let you see that unforeseen bugs and issues always come up. Given what we're doing with 76, we know we're opening everyone up to all new spectacular issues none of us have encountered. Some we're aware of, such as areas where performance needs to improve with lots of players. Others we surely don't. We need your help finding them and advice on what's important to fix. We'll address all of it now and after launch. We can't thank you enough for your support over the years and your support while we try something new. It's incredibly exciting to finally jump into the world of Fallout and experience it together with you. This is just the start. We can't wait to see you there. Bethesda Game Studios. And that is the end of it. There's a lot said there, and I think it's said for an important reason. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we have to remember that it's a beta, and that's what betas are for. They're so that you can open it to people, open it to players, and find out what's wrong and improve it and fix issues. That's the primary purpose you do a beta test.
Yeah, what they're doing is they're prepping the consumers to anticipate bugs and stuff like that. Bethesda are well known for having buggy games on release. Okay, that's one of the things that you associate with Bethesda. Oh, Bugthesda. People call them Bugthesda. The fact that they're coming out and saying this before Fallout 76 comes out, and it's a beta as well, they're setting people's expectations low, and I think that's the important thing here. The whole thing around having spectacular issues, which is the term that's making the news headlines now, that is put in for a reason. They're saying this to set your expectations low so that when you go into it, you're not like, oh, Bugthesda struck again. Yeah. It's a beta. That's what it's supposed to be about. And without them coming out and saying it's a beta, don't be so effing stupid. This is the nicest way that they can do that.
This is the tactful response, and it's the right thing to do from
preempting all this.
Yeah, and they're saying spectacular issues. So you're going to come on, you'll expect, there's going to be crazy bugs left, right, and centre, but then you'll go in and it's just a little bit of texture popping or something. They've oversold the bugs, which I think is a smart move, because then it can only impress.
This line here: some bugs we're aware of, such as areas where performance needs to improve with lots of players. They're talking about the performance issues that playtesters have experienced. What they've done is they've invited loads of influencers and journalists and everything to play hands-on Fallout 76 recently. A lot of what they said was that the performance was not good enough. The frame rate was really low in some areas, especially away from the vault. The vault was like the really well optimized area, and then the further you go away, the worse the performance gets. That's what they're referring specifically to there. Some we're already aware of. Now, my question is, if they're already aware of this, that the experience is slow and it's sluggish, why do they even have a release date? Because they can fix it in the beta stage, but they don't know how long it's going to take.
Yeah, I think because the release date's in
15th of November.
Yes, it's in November.
Yeah,
so it's
like 3 weeks away.
Yeah, so people could stumble across proper, substantial bugs that they've got to resolve in this quick time to meet release. So I think
that's one dubious thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Why put release so close to the beta? I would have thought they'd pop it out early 2019 just to give themselves that cushion.
Yeah, they want to get it out before Christmas. To get people
the Christmas market.
Christmas, I mean that's what they did with Fallout 4 as well. I think it was November when that one released, or October. So that time anyway, pre-Christmas. So does this, that one line itself kind of implies that they might be rushing this a little bit.
Yeah.
And with some of the impressions, I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they know and they've got it all in hand and they know what they're doing. But for me, it would seem more natural to get to a point where the game is optimized and runs well before you even think about opening up to beta. Or
it's like in the Marvel movies when they've announced, we're going to bring out a slew of films. They're going to come out then. But you've not even started filming. You've not even got cast or directors or anything. It's kind of I don't really know the words. It's just a bit too much too soon. I think you need to hedge your bets a bit with that sort of thing.
And I think this
jumping the gun.
I think this is maybe why Bethesda, they do things the way they do things. That's just them, right? This is just epitomizes why they get criticism. I think maybe, just my theory, I guess, is that they're setting a release date before they even know what state the game's going to be. Yeah. I guess it's games as a service, and after launch they can fix it up, and that's what they're indicating here. More than any other game that they've ever done, they're going to be fixing this game and optimizing it and supporting it going into the future. That's what games as a service is. But I can't help but feel that maybe they should just make polish their games up before releasing them. They wouldn't be known as Bugthesda then.
Yeah, exactly.
But there we go. That's just me. Anything else that jumps out at you from this note here, Henry?
In typical kind of corporate speak, it's a long-winded way of saying something very simple.
Yeah,
and it comes from a nice place. Well, the tone of it does anyway. It's very pro-consumer. It's like for the fans, but we're trying to be very transparent with you about this, and this. Thank you so much for being with us for so long. And one thing I did like is that they are they're kind of reassuring fans that this is a new thing, like a new adventure for them.
It's like a risk for them.
It's a risk because they tried what was it, Elder Scrolls Online, and that had quite mixed reviews, but it seems like
they're still supporting it, it's still going on.
It's still running. Well, I feel that there's a bigger push for Fallout 76 in terms of the MMO market. Seems like they're fully behind it, but they do acknowledge that this is an experiment, and they want fans to understand that as well, that it might not be your traditional Fallout because it is new for them as much as it is for us.
And one thing to note as well, the Elder Scrolls Online, I think, is developed by ZeniMax Online Studios, which is different to Bethesda, right?
Oh, so it's not even...
It's the same corporation, essentially. ZeniMax owns everything, pretty much. But Bethesda Game Studios, right, they're the ones specifically designing Fallout 76. So I think that's where this is done a little bit different, because it's a different team.
A bit closer to home for them.
Yeah, it's a different team. But... I mean, I like Bethesda, and I think I might be one of the only people who just... I don't know. There's something about Bethesda that I really like. It's the way that they approach things, and I think what epitomizes it is this first paragraph where they're talking about, but still some worrying questions. Will people want this from Fallout? Will they want it from us? They're showing that vulnerability. They're showing that they don't know all the answers, and they're not there to tell us the answers. They start with the questions, and then they start, and that's what comes across to me from interviews with Todd Howard and all the other execs at Bethesda, is that they start with a question. They try and figure things out, and they're still exploring things. They're still being vulnerable. They're still trying new things. People might say this is a cash grab because it's an online game. Everyone's doing online games, and this is what they want. But a lot of people want Fallout 76. A lot of people might want to play multiplayer with Fallout in a Fallout world. So I mean, I tend to give Bethesda the benefit of the doubt. When there's always a questionable, why have they done this, why have they not? I give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe I'm a rare breed right now. I don't know. There's a lot of people who criticize Bethesda, which I feel is unfounded, but then again, that's just my opinion. That's how I feel, I guess.
I'm just happy that they are trying to experiment with this kind of new way of putting together a game, and a new genre. Essentially, it's a new genre. Because I know I don't want to play the same thing over and over again. I'm not even a big Fallout or Elder Scrolls player, to be honest. But I like that they're trying new things.
Yes,
I think experimentation and innovative development is definitely the way forward for these companies.
Absolutely agree with you on that point.
Because it's the whole annual release thing that you get with Call of Duty and Battlefield. It's essentially the core of the game is the same thing repackaged with a few little differences. If they took out 1 year, 2 years, even 3 years, if you can imagine that, they could then really experiment and do something completely different.
Yeah.
But they don't need to at this point. They don't want to, and that's fine for them. But I know as a player, as a consumer of video games as entertainment, I want to try different things. I don't want to sit with the same thing over and over again.
I've been playing a lot of Fallout 4 recently, going back into it, and I mentioned it in last week's podcast. But I'm really enjoying just the environment and storytelling. I've not followed hardly any of the quests at all, just going into places and blowing shit up, killing all the raiders, reading all the logs and all the notes lying around, and collecting all the loot and using that as my gameplay loop and not following any story whatsoever. Yeah. I'm like level 25 now. I haven't been to Diamond City yet. So I'm really enjoying that experience. The fact that there's no NPCs in Fallout 76 doesn't bother me now, because I've played that way essentially in Fallout 4 for so long, and I'm enjoying that. The fact that you can be played single player if you want to, and just learn the story through the environment, looting, scavenging, killing, and then repeat, like cashing in all the stuff, leveling up, and then repeat. I like the idea of that now. It doesn't have, being online or not, I can take it or leave it. It's nice that I'm going to be able to jump in and play with some of the patrons, or we can jump in for a game. I like the idea of that. I'm not against Fallout 76. I was a bit skeptical to begin with, but the more I think about it, and the more I think about what I enjoy out of Fallout 4, the more I'm on board. So
that's fair.
That is just me. And also, I love the fact that Bethesda, it just seems like a new Bethesda now. Bethesda was so secretive in the past. They've always been tight, kept the cards close to the chest in terms of what's coming up, what they're working on. They've generally just announced the game a few months later, like they did with Fallout 4. It comes out. Yeah. But what happened with Fallout 4, I think it soured them, right? Because I think it was Jason Schreier got some inside information months before Fallout 4 was announced. And I think they saw their asses with that. Also, that's why they blacklisted Jason Schreier, Kotaku journalist, if those of you don't know him, respected games journalist, not so much anymore. But then with this Fallout 76, he also got the scoop on that, right? He also found out and leaked that it was an online Fallout 76. And everyone was upset. Like, everyone was like, we don't want to know online. And that was before Bethesda could even announce it. And they didn't have control of that information. And I think they were soured on that. I think they're taking a completely different tack. Instead of having loads of secrets where they can't control where it gets leaked, because obviously someone's leaking from the inside, they're just coming out and saying, that's why they went to E3 and said, right, we've got Starfield, we're working on Elder Scrolls 6, we've got everything, laid everything out on the table. And this is kind of the same thing where they're saying, right, we're going to be open and honest with you, there's going to be loads of bugs. And it's like, I feel like this is a new era for Bethesda where they're trying to be more open and honest and trying to just be more transparent so that people can't criticize them based on false info. Because
then you can control the outflow of information and kind of set the rules and set the terms of what people are going to say. Because if you put out something, they can then comment on that specific thing, and you can kind of control that environment a bit more.
I think the whole PR thing is about control of information, right?
Yeah.
And how people perceive you based on that information.
And if it's a leak, that takes the power away from Bethesda, because it's going to be a leak of something that's unfinished or work in progress, whatever. But if they deliberately release things and deliberately release and deliberately reveal things under the whole Bethesda banner, they can fully control, we're showing you this at this time and it means this, and you can come directly to us to ask questions about it because we've put it in the public domain.
And I think that's what this note is. Yes. I think this is them controlling the narrative, controlling how people think about the bugs in their games or whatever people are going to think about their games. They're in control now. They're saying they're coming out ahead of it and preempting all that.
And they're definitely leading the conversation around it.
Exactly.
Which is the best place for them to be.
We know there's bugs and this and that. But anyway, that is our conversation around Fallout 76. And obviously, it launches today. The beta launches on the Xbox today. although you're going to have to wait another week for the PC and PlayStation, today being the 23rd of October, it's the 30th for PlayStation and PC. The game itself launches, I think, November the 14th or the 15th, something like that. 14th. I think that sounds right.
Kind of mid-November, isn't it?
Yeah. So that is it. And we are going to move on now. What are we going to talk about next, Mr. Henry, sir?
What should we talk about? Should we have a little bit of talk about some movie crap?
Sure.
We touched on some stuff last week. I had a bit of a rant about Star Wars.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
we had a bit of a Star Wars chin wag. What do you want to talk about this week?
Don't know if anyone's interested, but they leaked and then officially revealed the new Spider-Man costume for the upcoming Spider-Man movie. It comes out, I think, next year. Of after Avengers 4 and all that. I think it looks really cool. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't.
Have you seen Spider-Man Homecoming, the latest Spider-Man solo movie?
No, I haven't.
Oh, you're missing out. It's really good.
There's too many Spider-Man films.
There's a lot of
so many
Spider-Mans running around, and it is Spider-Mans. If anyone tries to say it's Spider-Man, it's not Spider-Man. It's not Batman. It's Batmans, because the man isn't important. It functions as a whole unit, right?
I see.
Spider-Man, it is hyphened, but it's still Spider-Man's.
Okay, I trust you on that. I trust you on that.
But
I'm not questioning you.
Traditionally, Spider-Man, he's red and blue. Yes.
Yes.
He's got like the shoulders, and then down the chest is the red, and then the kind of his ribs and his leg. Yeah, they're all blue. This time it's like a very, very dark navy, but it's basically black. So he looks a little darker.
A bit goth.
Yeah, a little bit goth. But I think it looks really cool.
Yeah.
He looks really because blacks are very like slim in color anyway, they say in the fashion world, right?
What you're saying is that he's having this midlife kind of spread, and it's time to stick on some black so he looks a bit slimmer.
Yeah, right. No, I think it makes him look a bit more. It sounds weird, but more like a spider, because they've got the long, thin, gangly legs, and I think it makes him look a bit sleeker than anything. But also, he's got the major difference that I spotted was on his gloves, right? So Spider-Man's gloves, they're normally like finger to elbow is red, and then there's a bit of red that comes like up the bicep to the shoulder. This time it's just like pretty much black on his forearm, and then red fingers, and that's
is this what we're talking about?
Yeah, that's the one. We'll stick a picture up for you guys to see. It's not significantly different, but I think it looks really cool.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's something, that's for sure.
My favourite thing about the MCU Spider-Man, the Tom Holland Spider-Man, is the eyes, because they move.
Okay.
It's something that's very difficult for comics versus movies is kind of showing expression on a face, because if someone's wearing a mask, you don't get the features and the subtlety that you get from like a look or like an eyebrow raise or something like that.
Sure.
With the MCU Spider-Man, they've done it so that his eyes lenses on his mask essentially operate like a camera shutter.
I see.
It adjusts focus.
Yeah. And
they justify it in law by because he's got his spider sense and he's like super in tune to everything that's going around him. It gets a bit overbearing and it gets a bit much. So with this mask, it helps him focus things. But it also means that he, like, if something's flying towards him, his eyes will go big and he'll look surprised. Sure. And I think it's a really good way to add a level of expression to the character, but in a very grounded way. Because Deadpool did a similar thing, but in a more, I guess, artificial way, because they just put the green dots around his eyes so they can move a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's not something that necessarily makes sense in the real world, but it works for that character. And I think this is a really good example of that sort of thing. That's
cool. So do we know when this movie's coming out?
At some point next year, but I don't know if there's an actual date yet. I think it's called, I can't remember if this is official or not, but the chatter is that it's going to be called Spider-Man Far From Home, and he's going to be on some field trip. Things are probably going to go wrong. Mysterio is supposed to be in it. Big fishbowl head Mysterio, played by, what's his name? Jake Gyllenhaal, I think it is. Mm-hmm. Again, I can't remember if that's official or not. I think he's definitely attached to the project.
Cool, yep. That's awesome. So
I think it could be a cool one. And obviously this all will be influenced by whatever happens in Avengers 4.
Yeah, of course.
Because
Of course. Like,
course.
How could we forget Avengers 4?
Well, because have you seen Avengers
I've not
3
seen
Infinity
it.
War? Well, the ending.
I'm just humouring you because I don't know anything about these films.
Well, the end left a lot of our heroes in a bit.
Spoil it. Don't spoil it.
Well, it was a bit of a tight spot,
Bit of a
let's
pickle.
say. And they've got to deal with that in Avengers 4 and then whatever Spider-Man's going to do after that.
I see. Right. So they're all in sequential order, right? So whatever
More or
happens
less,
in
yeah.
one movie affects what the next movie is going to have, even though it's
Yeah.
Avengers and Spider-Man.
Yeah, there'll be
Spider-Man's
knock-on.
narrative continues through the run. That's interesting how they do that. How many kind of these type of...
There's like 20 now, I think. So that's
I think I
a
might have seen
long
two.
time.
I think I might have seen two.
Two.
2 or 3. It's Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes, that's
Right,
one.
I've seen that one.
That's good.
I've seen the one where I can't remember. It was like Hulk grabs Loki and smashes him.
Oh, Avengers.
That one, the
Yeah.
original Avengers. And I've also seen another one, I believe. So that's maybe 3.
Maybe 3.
Not even 20% of them. But yeah,
This guy.
It's
This
not
guy.
my. It's I don't know. It's not my.
Nah, that's fair.
Not my generation, is it? I'm late 30s, man. I'm
Yeah.
late 30s. I'm not young like you.
Young whippersnapper.
Yes, whippersnapper. Okay, so that is our Spider-Man chat for this week. What are we going to talk about now?
Movie tangent. I was avoiding this for a little while because I don't like to see leaks of things that I'm excited for. But there was a little bit of a Red Dead Redemption 2 leak of a tiny snippet of gameplay, about 20 odd seconds of gameplay.
It's a leak. Usually people associate leaks with spoilers. This is not really a spoiler.
Yeah. I was avoiding watching it, and then you watched it, and you were like, okay, it's spoiler free, it's fine.
Well, I had learned it was 23 seconds. I thought, I heard there was
How
a leak.
much can they put in it?
I heard there was a leak and it was like, shit, I don't want to watch that. I don't want to see like 20 minutes of gameplay. Nah, I'm not into that. I'd just rather play it. Then I heard it was 23 seconds. I thought, I'll watch it. I mean, for those of you who are very sensitive to leaks, it's literally just the same type of impressions that you get from journalists. So if you've avoided all that, you might want to avoid the next little segment. But essentially all it is what Arthur Morgan on his horse, he pats it, he gets off his horse. There's 3 lawmen, I'm assuming, coming towards him because his wanted level's all high. He gets his weapons out, a shotgun and a pistol. Yeah. He takes 2 of them out pretty sharpish. One of them he shoots and is on the ground. He gets up and he finishes them off. Yeah. And that's all it is.
And then there's little... The biggest thing I don't think we've seen before is there was like a kill cam for the final guy. He shot him once, and then, as I say, he kind of scrambled up, and he shot him, and then you saw like a slow-mo of him go, and like get wiped out. It just looks cool. It's exactly what I thought it would be in terms of gameplay.
The visuals,
sharper.
The visuals look fantastic. I was drooling just looking at it. The world itself. We played the original Red Dead recently, so we refreshed on how the world looks and things like that. This world looks fantastic. Just a little thing that got me as he patted his horse, and then part of his coat at the back was just flapping in the wind. Yeah, it was like that's fully animated. I mean, there's no horse balls. I mean, we didn't get to see how the horse balls were shaking and contracting or any of that. We're still yet to pass judgment on that.
Wait for the latest Pretty Good Gaming on the horse balls.
But it was just those little details, and this is something that, again, I feel like I'm just reiterating someone else's words, like somebody who's played it, because people who've played it just say it's the little details that make it. And it's that types of things that I'm like, wow. This is attention to detail.
That's exactly the kind of thing that I like about games, and Rockstar are really good at that sort of thing.
The other thing was what I liked was the weapon wheel slow down time. It didn't stop time. Yes, a la Horizon Zero Dawn, which I really liked about Horizon Zero Dawn. Yeah, it keeps you immersed. So if you're choosing a weapon, you're doing it without pausing. You're doing it in slow motion. There's no get out. There's no pause and have a breath. Yeah, it's like you're choosing your weapon, but you've got to be quick because people are still aiming at you and still in slow motion. Yeah. So I like that part about it too.
And the wheel, it's got his left hand weapon and his right hand weapon. So I think he had a revolver and like a sawn-off shotgun. Then he has like his lasso, a knife, fists.
A what? Sorry.
A lasso.
A lasso.
That's how it's spelled. Lasso.
Right, okay. Lasso, beta.
That's the thing. I always used to say lasso, and then I read how it was spelled. And I was just like, I guess it's lasso now. Maybe
I don't know. It's always been lasso for me, but it's the whole beta thing over again.
And that it's beta.
Let us know what you think down below, obviously. Let us know that I'm right. I've got
So there was his rope thing with the hole in it and you get the horse. That one, you know what I mean.
Sorry, I'm a child in it.
And then like a two-handed weapon, like a rifle or a shotgun. And it looked very much like you can pick which one you want to equip at the time, but it's only those weapons. And if you want to change what shotgun or rifle fits in that slot, then you have to go to the horse and swap them out.
Yeah, that wasn't specifically shown in the trailer.
Yeah, no,
sorry, in this leak. This was like just confirmed information from.
So a weapon wheel is there, and that's how you equip and unequip what's on you, but you don't have like 100 weapons on you at once.
Yeah. And the other thing that really had me salivating was just the weapons, the weight.
Oh, so much weight. Those bodies,
and the way they fell down.
Yeah, they took the hit and they went down, and there's a nice kind of pink mist that flies up when they get shot.
Yeah, bloody mist.
A little spray.
It was weird because you had to slow it right down to be able to see what happened. There was two guys behind one another, and there was two. He shot with his revolver and then shot with his shotgun with his left hand in tight succession.
Literally just like bam, bam.
And it didn't look like a lot happened with the cursor, but I don't know. It must have like auto aimed or something really quickly. Maybe. But the second guy just went down like a
yeah. Because when we were watching it, we were like, oh wait, hold on, what happened to the other guys? Because the lawmen show up and they step off their horses and that, and then before we knew it, everyone was dead.
Yeah, it was really quick, and
with no dead eye or anything, just regular aiming.
It was cool, and it got us salivating. By the time you listen to this, you might even be playing it already, but and the whole discussion might be irrelevant, but still, we thought we'd talk about it because it was a leak / non-spoiler type of thing, just to show you a little bit of how the world looks in actual gameplay, not just in trailers, or not just in what Rockstar want to show you in trailers and gameplay trailers, or whether the gameplay or not is the other question. Yeah. But actual gameplay from somebody who's playing the game is awesome. Seeing the UI and everything as well.
Yeah. So you've got your ammo count for your left-hand weapon and your right-hand weapon. And that's kind of self-explanatory, I guess, but I hadn't really considered it, that they would be independent. But it was a nice kind of reminder to see that. I was like, oh, okay, so they are different, and that you can have two different types of weapons. And we sort of saw it in one of the trailers. He puts his he holsters his pistol and he's walking along with his shotgun or something. So yeah, I like that it's not just two pistols. You can have a shotgun and a pistol, or two different pistols. Yeah.
There was a very familiar element in the mini-map on the bottom left, I didn't notice, but the dead animals, I'm assuming, or dead people, were X's.
Yeah.
So obviously we know that if we turn the mini-map off, the NPCs will tell you which way to go, and you can have that whole experience more immersive.
Yeah, if you want that level of immersion.
Yeah. Which I'm probably going to do, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah. I think if I'm out in the world just having a good time, I'll almost definitely do it. But if I've got a specific destination, other side of the map, because this map's going to be massive, it's the biggest Rockstar map they've ever done, I will just flick it on just to get that waypoint marker. But if I'm just exploring, dicking around in the wilderness, let's just have a chat with some NPCs, man,
and just experience the experience. Talking about the map has been leaked as well from, I think it was, these guides that you get, a book guide,
strategy guides.
Yeah. There's an image of that has been posted on Twitter, and it shows everything. I haven't really looked at it too much. I don't really want to spoil it. Yeah. But that is out there too if you want to go and find that. But we're not going to talk about that too much. We want to try and avoid spoilers because spoilers suck, right?
Yeah, no one likes spoilers.
But our discussion here has not been spoilers really. It's just gameplay.
It's a lot of stuff that we'd already seen before anyway, or elaborated on stuff we've seen before.
So there you go. That's our Red Dead Redemption 2 pre-excitement chart, right? Pre-launch excitement.
Yeah, as if you couldn't tell that we're really excited for it already.
It must be one of those very few occasions where there's so many people. I mean, it's just hype though, isn't it? I mean, we've got a question coming up, right, about hype. I guess we should ask it now because it flows pretty nicely. But whose question was it?
Oh, here we go. It's Rost in Peace over on the Discord channel. My question is, do you think the hype train for games can ruin... Yeah, do you think the hype train for games can ruin them sometimes? Mrs. Doubtfire effect.
Yeah,
As in,
I
No
wrote
Man's
Mrs.
Sky.
Doubtfire effect.
Oh, you
that wasn't
wrote
part of
Mrs.
the question.
Doubtfire effect. So I was going to say that's an expression you've used.
So
before.
where's
Is
it? Why? Who asked the question?
Rust in peace.
Rest in peace. Yeah. So Mrs. Doubtfire effect was my comment there, because that was my answer. In a sense, yeah, you can hype things way too much, and it can affect people who are expecting too much, obviously, and it can completely ruin a game.
Yeah.
Like if you consider a game like No Man's Sky, right, and it was the fault of Sean Murray.
Yeah.
Because he'd hyped that up. Like he said, you can have this, you can have that, you can have this. If he hadn't said anything about the game in the lead up, and people would have played it with a clean, fresh slate in their minds, people might have enjoyed it, and it wouldn't have had so much of a backlash like it did. And I think it can, I mean, I always say Mrs. Doubtfire effect, because that was the film that I watched with so much anticipation, expectation. I went in and it didn't meet it, so I was disappointed. It might have been a good film. I don't know. But I'm judging it on my expectations, and that's the problem. If you get your expectations high, then you can only ever be disappointed. And I think that it's up to you to... Hype is different to expectation.
Yeah.
Hype can be like getting excited for something, but expectation is separate. People can be hyped for something without being expecting too much. And I think for me personally, anyway, it can be like that. So I'm really hyped for Red Dead, but I'm not expecting everything. I'm not expecting to be blown away. I'm keeping all that in check. I'm keeping my emotions in check.
Yeah, I'm very excited for it because I've played Red Dead Redemption. I know the core of what I'm getting, but I'm not... Because they've said, oh, you can do this, you can do this. I'm naturally quite skeptical, so I'm like, oh, it can't be. Yeah. It can't be that much. It can't be that detailed or anything. And then if you keep your expectations not necessarily low but level, you can only be surprised.
Yeah, and I think having seen it so many times where you get disappointed with something that's been described or something that's supposed to be there and it isn't, or whatever reason you get disappointed. If you've been through it a lot, you tend to just not get hyped anyway. You don't invest your emotions before you actually play it, and you only then connect with the game emotionally when you're playing it, rather than beforehand when you get hyped and you're like become a fanboy and you love something before you've even experienced it. That's just irrational.
Yeah, and also even if you're watching other people play it, say if it's a really hard game, I played a lot of Bloodborne recently. And I watched a few other people play, and I was like, "Oh wow, it looks really cool!" Like solid combats. I'm not played any of the Souls games or anything by FromSoft. And then I played it, and I was like, "What the hell? This is so hard." Like I knew it was hard, but because I'd seen other people be good at it and make it look so effortless, I was like, "Oh yeah, I can do it. Like it'll be fine." Played it, got annihilated over and over again.
You learned that you were just a scrub all along.
Yeah, I am a scrub.
So I hope that answers your question, Rust in peace, and thanks for asking. So we're going to move on to another question. Anything that tickles your fancy, tickles your pickle?
Let's have a look. This one was on Patreon from Beachhorn. You asked 1,000 different questions, and this one really jumped out to me amongst all the others. You said, are there any tracks from a game that you've later sought out and downloaded / bought on CD or had going around your head after playing? In a good way. Linking to the whole Red Dead thing, on my Spotify, I have the Red Dead Redemption 1 soundtrack saved just because it's so atmospheric. If I'm like walking along somewhere, you get those twangs of just like, wow, and just dum, 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 dum. I just love it. It'll come on. But then on the flip side, I've got the Doom soundtrack saved because that's much more like intense and high octane. It's like
kind of stuff you listen to anyway, is it?
Yeah. I'm into kind of metal and rock and heavier music, and that's got a lot of the Doom soundtrack's got a lot of energy and aggression to it. There's heavy metal parts. There's heavily electronic parts, and all that goes really well. And there's certain songs. I think there's one called Rip and Tear, and that was a big part of their marketing. It played. It's like the metalist name. It plays in a lot of their trailers. And that's a really cool song. It comes on a lot. I really dig that one. I'm a big fan of film soundtracks as well. I listen to like the Lord of the Rings soundtrack all the time. I just put it on. Yeah, I like soundtracks a lot, like scores as well, like big orchestral kind of things.
I heard a acoustic version of the Game of Thrones music yesterday.
Yeah.
We were playing Reigns, Game of Thrones, and listen to, and I just love acoustic guitar. Like, obviously, for those of you who know me, I'm big into acoustic guitar, and I just love the sound of the guitar itself. So if there's anything like the first trailer for The Last of Us Part 2, where Ellie's playing the guitar, the whole animation of that was
the
accurate.
Detail of the fingers.
She's playing the right chords. She's plucking the right strings.
Because she gets it wrong at the beginning as well. It's out of tune, so she does it.
Tunes it.
Then
blood soaked arms and fingers and stuff. I thought it was fantastic, and just that type of music where it's like kind of raw and So I hope there's more of that type of music in The Last of Us. It's The Last of Us Part 2. That's going to be.
Well, and we got that still of Joel with his guitar in the woods.
That's right.
So I think that will be a theme, that kind of rural, rustic kind of thing going on. Yeah. I hope so, anyway.
Yeah, me too.
Very cool.
Thanks for your question there.
Yeah, good question.
Mr. Beachhorn. We're going to move on to Joni's question now. Thanks for your contribution, Joni. As always, since Xbox has turned into a meme, has it? Has it, Joni? Has it really turned into a maybe for you? Maybe in your social circle. Xbox is now a meme. Okay, maybe it is. Maybe I'm being a bit too harsh on you. How long do you think it will take for them to catch up with Sony? Even with the 5 studios they own, they would still have to work a lot harder to next gen to get to their level of quality. The 5 studios you're relating to there, I think they're the ones that they bought recently. They made another one, which is the 6th, and also they've bought Obsidian recently.
Yeah, they got Obsidian.
But they've also got their older studios as well. So they've got more than 5. They've got enough. Like they've got 11 or 12 now.
So they got their own studios and then all the recent acquisitions. So they got Obsidian, Ninja Theory,
Compulsion. The one that they made, I'm sure we should probably have researched.
Yeah, we probably.
Anyway, suffice to say that there's more than 5. There's like a dozen. I would have thought.
They've got a good catalogue of teams and developer experience.
They would still have to work a lot harder next gen to get to the level of quality. Yeah, I think they're going for a different type of strategy, and I think they know that they can't compete with Sony in terms of AAA. And I think that's why
they've accepted that they've lost that battle.
Yeah. I think that they're looking for more diversity with their games, and they're looking for smaller studios, AA studios, you could say, which Ninja Theory, Compulsion, and Obsidian kind of are. Although you could argue that Obsidian are a huge studio.
Well, I think studios of that level can produce some really good stuff because it doesn't always get the traction of say AAA like Call of Duty, GTA, blah 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 blah. Yeah. Because they get these massive marketing pools. Even like conventional news outlets like the BBC will comment on these games, even without a big controversy. But these smaller ones, they can really pump out some good stuff that often flies under the radar for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like I've recently been playing Vampire, and that's excellent.
It's a good shout.
It's really good, but it's not an indie game or anything, but it's certainly not a AAA big budget thing.
I think
that's a really good game.
Yeah. And that's Don't Nod, right? That's the makers of Life is Strange. And, it was an RPG game which they'd never made before, a third-person action RPG as well. So there's a lot of gameplay elements in there that they had to think out and had to plan out. And they've done it really solidly to a large extent. And I totally agree with you in terms of Vampire. I really like that game for many reasons. And it's that type of game that I think appeals to me more than the AAA game. What I see when I hear AAA game is mass appeal. That's the only thing that AAA means to me now. All right, huge budget, mass appeal. You think like
cookie cutter or like mainstream?
Well, maybe some appeal to me more than others. Call of Duty doesn't appeal to me. Like Battlefield, that kind of stuff, Fortnite or whatever, it doesn't appeal to me. Spider-Man, I enjoy Spider-Man. AAA game, huge appeal for the mass market.
Yeah, we're not anti-AAA game at all.
But I love that game. God of War as well being one. Red Dead Redemption, it's maybe not as mass appeal as the rest, but I'm sure it's going to do amazingly.
A lot of people who jumped on with GTA 5 who weren't into the other GTAs because for whatever reason they'll jump on GTA 5 because it's got this big discussion around it. Loads of people talking about it. So many people are talking about Red Dead now in the gaming community and outside of the gaming community. That's going to bring a lot more people in because it's got this not necessarily mainstream appeal, but mainstream awareness, I suppose. It's an awareness.
Yeah, so I think that, like you say, with AAA games becoming cookie cutter and just using...
They don't take as many risks.
Exactly. Not as many risks. And I think that this is what Xbox might have over PlayStation, as well as the backward compatibility thing, going into the next generation. And specifically, how long do you think it will take them to catch up with Sony? It depends, right? In terms of output, it's going to be difficult. I mean, we don't know. In terms of quality, I mean, AAA quality... I don't know if that's your benchmark. Again, I don't think they're going to be able to compete. Yeah. But specifically in terms of maybe trying experimenting with things in games and diversifying their portfolio more than Sony do. I think that they've got a lot to offer, especially with the Game Pass thing, especially with the next generation coming up and everyone being reset in terms of who owns what console, especially with the backwards compatibility and everything else that goes with it. I think that they're kind of... They're chiseling out their own appeal in the market, and people might buy a PlayStation and an Xbox for totally separate reasons. And I don't think they necessarily have to be in competition with each other anymore.
I don't see why you have to pick a side. I was Xbox 360 last generation because it had games like Gears of War and Halo that I wanted. I thought they looked cool. I bought them. I switched to Sony with PlayStation 4 this generation because the whole botched Microsoft reveal of the Xbox One and then PS4, I got excited for games like Horizon when that was announced, because I didn't get it straight away. I think I waited a year or two, I can't remember. Horizon, I was like, oh, that looks pretty cool. And then there's other games of existing franchises that I was into. It wasn't really to do with exclusives, and it's only kind of been in the last couple of years they've really been knocking them out with the Sony exclusives.
Yeah, sure, definitely. I mean, towards the end of this generation, for sure, they'd definitely knock them out. But I think come the beginning of the next console generation, they might surprise you, Johnny. I'm pretty sure Xbox will have a good go at it.
I don't think they necessarily have to catch up, because once the new console generation starts, they're back to a more level playing field. I mean, obviously, the loyalty of Microsoft and the loyalty of Sony fans will come into it, but starting again, it's essentially it's a new stage of the race.
Sure, and the bonus for them is that if they can have backwards compatibility with their next generation console, everyone who owns Xbox One will probably go with Xbox next generation, because they'll already have a huge library of games, and that is so valuable. Xbox and Microsoft have been very clever in realizing that is their unique selling point, and that they can use that as a method of selling future consoles and future generations. And if Sony don't get on that shit, then they will suffer for it.
Yeah, they will.
Guaranteed. Anyway, let's move on to another question. Do you want to pick one now?
Yeah, let's have a look. This is a good one from Not That Rob Lowe. With Christmas coming up, what gaming-related goodies are you hoping Santa will have in his sack this year? Or non-gaming, if you want. What's Santa got in his sack,
Oh, God. Thanks for the question, by the way, Rob.
Yeah, good question, because Christmas is coming up, and it's always a big season for gaming.
Yeah, I mean, do you want to take it first? Do you want to answer? Because I've got an answer for this.
Have you got one?
Yeah, I got an answer.
You go ahead.
I would say that Santa can keep his presents to himself, because back in the day, right, I wanted an Xbox 360, and Santa didn't bring me it. Right, and I was like, right, well, I'm not going to buy one. Santa's got to bring me one, but he didn't bring me it, right? So I was disappointed, and it was only recently, it was like 4 or 5 years after I wanted an Xbox One that I got an Xbox One. I think it was last Christmas. No, Christmas before last, right? I got an Xbox One, and it was too late, right? It was like 4 years into the console generation. It's like, well, I've already got a PlayStation 4, got my games catalog library in PlayStation 4. I was like, Santa, you've missed the boat. Why are you buying me this game? And like, I got Dead Rising 4 with it. It's like, well, I don't really like that, Santa. How do you not know that I don't like this game, Santa? I'm not into this franchise. I would rather Santa just, obviously I'm talking about my wife here, because let's talk about Santa. Santa isn't the best person to pick what I want in terms of games, is what I'm trying to say. So you thanks, Santa. I really appreciate you taking the time to make me and bring me these presents on Christmas morning, so I can have something to open.
Those elves are working hard.
Nice. It's always nice, but it's just a little bit of a waste if I don't play the console or use it as a doorstop or something like I have done in the past. So let me buy my consoles and games and stuff. But I do appreciate you, Santa. I really do.
I don't know for me, what's coming out for the rest of the year that I'm particularly fussed about. So a lot of the stuff I'm hoping for is either doesn't have a release date or is coming out next year. But there's the only big December release that I can think of off the top of my head that I want is Smash Bros on Switch. But I'll probably be getting that ahead of time anyway, because me and a couple of the guys I live with, I said this before in the last podcast, we own the Switch together, like as a group. We all chipped in a bit, but I'm hoping to get Smash Bros quite early on, and then bring the Switch home with me to my family home, and then play Smash Bros with my brother, because me and him...
Smash Bros be your bro.
Smash Bros with my bro. With me and him, there's this continuous kind of battle over who can get to Link first. Because Link is my favourite character for so many reasons. He's so well balanced. I could do an entire feature piece on why Link is my favourite. Not saying the best, but he's my favourite because he's the best. But I don't know what else for Christmas. And I always get asked this by my mum when it comes to Christmas time. She's like, "Oh, well, what do you want me to ask Santa to get you and make you?" I'm like, I don't know. Just this.
Just mouth fart. Just mouth fart.
How do you spell? Normally it will be something that I've probably had my eye on and not necessarily gone out and bought myself or been, motivated to get myself. I think last year I got Injustice 2 because I'm not a big fighter game. Playing fighter games, but I really like the Injustice universe, and I really liked the customization stuff about it. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, well, I'd like to play it, but I don't know if I wanted to pay full price. So it's a good opportunity for it to be a gift.
Yeah. There you go. So there's the answers. I think we're going to have to skip a couple of these questions because we are kind of running a little over today. So I maybe we take one more question and then we finish up. And I think we're going to go with Kel's. It's a big question.
It's a good question.
But it's a good question. So at Henry at Gaz, thanks for your contribution, by the way, Kel. Awesome question. Is there any point where open world games can be just too much game, like Red Dead Redemption 2 looks like it's going to be enormous, but for the average person with only a few hours of game time here and there and other responsibilities that stop them from sitting down and lifing it, is it too much? You could spend 20 or 30 hours in something like God of War and pretty much experience the whole game, but 20 or 30 hours in Red Dead Redemption 2 and you'll likely just scratch the surface. Does that still feel like a good value proposition for your average Joe gamer, or is it just to the point where it's too overwhelming to be a satisfying experience? Assassin's Creed Odyssey was close to feeling like too much for me. It was almost daunting at the start where you see how much there is to do. Almost put me off even playing it. That is the exact reason that I didn't buy Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Cal. And just being in that world and having all these markers, everyone to go and talk to, it's overwhelming. This is why I like a more tailored narrative, like linear kind of experience.
Is good.
Sometimes better than these Assassin's open world games from Ubisoft. So I avoided that completely, especially with Red Dead Redemption coming up. I didn't want to get open world fatigue. So
you can't commit to something that big with something that you're more excited for coming out just around the corner.
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed, it's a good one for that kind of open world thing, because Ubisoft games really do fall into the trap of open world fatigue, because it's just a huge expanse with pins all over it with lots of little things that you can do collectathons essentially.
Yeah.
So I think Assassin's Creed is a great example of that sort of thing in the industry. But Odyssey does have me interested. That could be a good one for the Christmas question. Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I might ask Santa for, because I'm not super invested in checking it out myself and paying, through the nose for it. But by Christmas, it should have dropped at least a bit.
Get it for a decent price.
Yeah, and then I can give it a go without having really lost anything, Yeah. And the worst thing that can happen is I don't like it, and then I haven't lost 50 quid. I
think an experience like Assassin's Creed or any Ubisoft game is better for those type of gamers who aren't in a rush to complete the game.
Yeah.
Who might just, like casual, you could say. And that's not meant derogatively. I just mean people who sit there and chillax in front of the TV on a couch in front of gaming system for maybe 1 or 2 hours every evening for like 3 or 4 nights a week, and just experience being in the world and having a bit of a, maybe I'm wrong there. I mean, I'm not always, it might not be right there, but I feel like it's more of like a theme park thing. You want to go over there, you have a few rides, and then you come away having had a good time and not really caring about getting to the end and finishing the game or getting...
Yeah, you just dip into the world more than you dip into the story or something like that.
Yeah, sure. Whereas a gamer like me wants a strong narrative, and you're the same, aren't you?
Yeah, big narrative.
You need a strong narrative to pull you through it. When it comes to Red Dead Redemption 2, I'm going to love being in that world so much that it's not going to feel like 30 hours. It's not going to feel like 60 hours or whatever it is to complete it. However, you use the example of God of War. I fell off God of War for a couple of weeks. I was like 10 hours in and I fell off it, and it found it hard to get going again. I found it hard to get back into it because there was very little in terms of story. I think that's what it was. There's a lot of gameplay, and the game itself is absolutely beautiful, and it's a fantastic example of what it is as a game. But I felt like it kind of lacked a little bit of the story to pull me into that. So it did feel like a bit of a slog for me. Even though it was only 20 hours, it felt like a bit of a slog. I can't tell you whether I'll think the same about Red Dead Redemption 2. The fact that it's 60 hours, maybe I will feel a bit fatigued at some point. But I feel like that game and that world and that story and those characters and the whole Rockstar element, the fact that it is a Rockstar putting together this world, I think I won't feel that way for Red Dead Redemption 2. And I think that's mainly due to personal taste.
Yeah. Well, what you said about God of War struggling to get back into it, I smashed God of War and I loved it. But then when I played Spider-Man, I loved it as well. Complete the story, and since completing it, I think I've been back like once or twice for maybe an hour just to swing.
Yeah.
But since finishing it, I haven't really been, compelled to come back.
I never go back. Once I finish the story,
Once
I finish the story, I never go back to games. I never do. I feel like the story is the only thing that keeps me there.
It's a fun game and everything.
It is very fun.
Although now they've just added the New Game Plus, and I really like that.
Yeah,
I like New Game Plus as a trend, I suppose.
They did that in God of War eventually.
Yeah, exactly. That was a recent one which I need to go back and do, because it makes it that little bit harder, but you've got all of your powers and all your upgrades and stuff.
Yeah,
I think New Game Plus is great.
Cool. So that is it for today's podcast. I hope you enjoyed it and stayed with us. And big apologies to everybody who we didn't get to in terms of questions. And I'm sorry for the short notice too, because we decided this morning that this is definitely what we were going to do today. So with all that said and done, thanks for watching. Thanks for being a patron and supporting the content that we bring to you. And we will not be back next week because I'm personally not going to be here. So there's going to be nothing doing next week in terms of production. Apologies for that though, but we will be back the week after. So look out for that then. So on behalf of Henry and I, we will see you when we see you, I guess.
Yeah.
So left-handed salute.
Left. No, I'm going right.
I'm going left.
I can't.
See you later, chaps.
See ya.